In today's video, we're hitting the road in the Yucatan Peninsula and exploring two magical, ancient Mayan cities that see a fraction of the tourists that the nearby Chichen Itza receives. Let's wander through ancient ruins, swim in icy cold cenotes, and dine on street-side eats.
Welcome to Ek Balam. It is a well-oiled machine. In this place, you pay for your parking, you can pay for your cenote, and then when you get here, you pay for your ticket. It's been a couple of years since I've been to the Yucatan, and prices have definitely gone up. The steps at these sites are always so steep. And I used to say, or joke that it was like, the Maya people must have had really long legs, but we took a tour once and they told us that the steps are big because you have to then bend every time you step up. So you're like bowing as you're climbing the temple, like a sign of respect.
The climbs are steep, but they're always worth the effort. Ek Balam is one of the few places in the region left where you can still climb up the two main buildings, and both offer unique views of the site.
So this main big building, the Acropolis as they've called it, is the royal palace, and they believe that at least 3 rulers lived in this palace. They've found other rooms that they think maybe were kitchens or prep areas, places to hang out with their pals. It's going to be a steep climb, but just reading some of the plaques, learning about the history before we go up. Trying to stay cool. Hard to get the scale of this building in, but it is huge. It goes all the way back that way, and then you have the main part that you're going to climb up, and then it just keeps going all the way back there. It's huge.
One of the incredible things about Ek Balam is that most of these covered carved stones are actually originals that have been insanely well preserved. This climb was the toughest. It was hot and humid, the steps were so narrow, and the height was mighty. There were a few places to stop along the way to take a break, and the views from the top were amazing.
It is hot. That was so cool. Wow, I am sweating. We are now headed to Temozon, which is a town about 10 minutes away that's known for its barbecue. Everything is like smoked, I guess. Carne ahumada. So that's where we're headed. We'll have some lunch and then we will go to a cenote to cool down.
Restaurant Temozon is right on the main road back towards Valladolid, and they served up some kibis, which are like fried meatballs, as a free starter. Then they gave us a meat platter, which was served with fresh tortillas and salsas. This was honestly one of my favorite meals of our entire trip. We finished the afternoon with a stop at Hubiku Cenote, which costs 250 pesos each. Underground in the cave, this large cenote was perfectly cool. It was the absolute antidote to the steamy hot day we had at Ek Balam. Overall, definitely worth it. The next day, we were back on the road to a completely different ancient city. We crossed state lines and changed time zones as we arrived to Coba in Quintana Roo. This site is enormous, with several distinct areas that most people get to by renting bicycles or riding on bike taxis.
Good morning and welcome to Coba, the ancient Mayan city here. When you come in, you park, you pay like 6 times, and then we paid to get in to park, but then they also gave us tickets, which we paid for, which were 100 pesos each, plus 60 for the car. And then when we came in, we also had to pay again 95 pesos each for tickets, so I'm unsure. But when you first come into the site, there is one area where you can see some ruins, and then you walk along this pathway. Some people are taking bicycles, which you can rent, or you can pay to have someone cycle you there in one of those little bike taxis. But we're walking and seeing how long it takes. I think you can already see the end of the road, so it's not that far. And then that's when you get to the sort of main site of the ruins. It'll be pretty cool.
We walked nearly 15,000 steps around Coba, exploring the different areas of the city. We spent close to 3 hours wandering around.
One of the cool things about Coba is that there are 4 or 5 different groups of buildings situated all like somewhat far apart, which is why a lot of people rent bikes. But there's one that it seems like is not as popular to get to. I was just reading about it. I'll put a link to an article that I've been reading while we've been walking through that has been guiding us on the history of the buildings and the different things to see. And this one is partly covered still. It hasn't been like fully excavated, so it's not as popular to visit. It's not as bright and white and beautiful as the other pyramids here, but it's so quiet here compared to the main pyramid where everybody was. Also, if you take the little taxi bikes, it doesn't seem like they come down here. Peaceful. Exploring it all.
This is so cool. There's the bar. Standing on those 2 people.
I think one of the coolest things also is how much Mother Nature is taking it back around this whole site. There are just trees growing up right out of the older temples or the pyramids and stuff. It reminds me a lot of like Angkor Wat in Cambodia. You just feel like you're in this ancient place. There's no plaques here, so you either need to have a guide or you need to have something like the website that we've been using to read about what you're looking at, because there's no information inside here. There are guides at the entrance that you can pay. They speak English, Spanish, French, or Italian. But it's also really cool to just wander without anybody else around and just, you feel like you're walking through history. It's pretty cool.
And it really stole our imaginations. We enjoyed just sitting in the quiet of the jungle, especially in that final section of the park. Afterward, we went for lunch at a nearby restaurant, which was okay, but not amazing. We were starving though, and the prices were really reasonable. I hope you enjoyed exploring Ek Balam, Coba, and Temozon with me, along with Hubiku Cenote. Stay tuned for the next episode of this series as we get way off the beaten path and visit ruins and cenotes that we had entirely to ourselves. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you next time.